Harinam Sankirtan ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaur Premanandi. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, 16th chapter, text number 18. Okay. Ahankaram balam darpam kamam krodam cha samshritaha mamatma paradeheshu pradvishanto vyasuyakaha. Ahankaram balam darpam kamam krodam cha samshritaha mamatma paradeheshu divshanto vyasuyakaha. Ahankaram balam darpam param cha samsritaha mamatma paradeheshu pradvishanto vyasuyakaha. Ladies? Anybody? Okay. Ahankaram, false ego. Balam, strength. Darpam, pride. Kamam, lust. Krodham, anger. Cha, also. Samshritaha, having taken shelter of. Mam, me. Atma, in their own. Para, and in other. Deheshu, bodies. Pradvishantoho, blaspheming. Abhyasuyakaha, envious. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Bewildered by false ego, strength, pride, lust, and anger, the demons become envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is situated in their own bodies and in the bodies of others, and blaspheme against the real religion. Purport. A demoniac person, being always against God's supremacy, does not like to believe in the scriptures. He is envious of both the scriptures and the existence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is caused by so-called prestige and his accumulation of wealth and strength. He doesn't know that the present life is a preparation for the next life. Not knowing this, he is actually envious of his own self, as well as of others. Why is he envious of his own self? How can you be envious of your own self? Any idea? Yes.
He's envious of the Supreme Self, which is
okay.
The own self is not.
Yes, and also he's envious of his own self-interest because he cannot accept that he has a different calling, which means to surrender to Krishna, and he does not want to do that. Yes?
You mean unconsciously?
No, consciously. Consciously. People who can't even be generous with themselves. Have you had experience of that? Have you seen people like that? They're so miserly, they're so stingy, that they're that they're even denying themselves any type of happiness or enjoyment, because their mind is so warped, they're like so twisted that they're their own worst enemy. We'll talk more about that in a minute. Okay, where are we? Actually envious of his own self as well as of others. He commits violence on other bodies and on his own. He doesn't care for the supreme control of the personality of Godhead because he has no knowledge. Being envious of the scripture and the supreme personality of Godhead, he puts forward false arguments against the existence of God and denies the scriptural authority. He thinks himself independent and powerful in every action. He thinks, that means the demoniac person, that since no one can equal him in strength, power, and wealth, he can act in any way, and no one can stop him. If he has an enemy who might check the advancement of his sensual activities, he makes plans to cut him down by his own power. Ahankaram balam darpam kamam krodam cha sangshritaha mamatma paradeheshu pradvishanto vyasuyakaha. Bewildered by false ego, strength, pride, lust, and anger, the demons become envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is situated in their own bodies and in the bodies of others, and blaspheme against the real religion. Om Ajnanatimarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Jayasi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim Yat kripadamaham vande Sri Gurudinataranam Paramananda Marvam Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. So here in the 16th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, explains to his dear friend and devotee Arjuna about divine and demoniac natures. They're different type of people because of their interests, their inclinations, they're different. Now you may think like demon, that's a pretty strong word, isn't it? How do they look like, those demons? Do they have red hair and big teeth and claws? Or who are the demons? Any idea? One time a devotee asked Prabhupada, why are you always preaching against these Mayavadis? You know, like what's your problem? You know, like, who are they? I mean, I haven't met them. So he asked Prabhupada, who are the Mayavadis? And Prabhupada said, you are the Mayavadis. And he said, means the impersonal and also the demoniac tendencies, they are present in each and every one of us. Just like pravrittim cha nivrittim cha janana vidurasurana shaucham chapi cha charona satyam teshu vidyate. What's the translation of that one? Pravrittim cha nivrittim cha. Yes. Yes, and they will always disagree with what the devotees say, and as a matter of principle, do the opposite. Because that's just the way how they are. They're very contrary. They're very averse. Trividang narkasyedang dvarang nashanamaatmanaha kama krodha satalo bastasmadi tatrayang tyajet. There are 3 gates that are leading to hell. Welcome to hell. Lust, anger, and greed. So once we cross these 3 gates, then you're in hell. One time, Srila Prabhupada was in London, and a reporter asked him, Swamiji, do you have in your religion something like, hell, or the concept of hell? And Srila Prabhupada said, yes, London is hell. And the man was a little bit surprised. And then Srila Prabhupada said, yet it is to the great credit of the British people that they have created such a wonderful civilization in such a hostile place. Wie sagt man hostile?
Feindselig.
Feindselig, ja. Nicht sehr gutes Klima, ne? Yeah. They have done great works to establish this great civilization in this very hostile place. So Srila Prabhupada, he spoke very straightforwardly. He did not mince words. He was very direct in his approach. At the same time, he was also very compassionate, very kind. I just read in the memoirs of Govinda Dasi, Jai Shishipala Nishingadev Ki Jai, one of the earliest disciples of Srila Prabhupada, that in the introduction there is a devotee who says that one time Srila Prabhupada gave instruction to a person who was going to open or lead a center. Srila Prabhupada said, "Oh, you're going to be temple president, so you have to be very strict." And then in the next sentence he said, "You have to be very liberal." Now how does that work? How can you be very strict and very liberal at the same time? Any idea?
Strict with yourself and liberal.
And liberal with others, yes, that's a good attitude, that's a good start. But if you're an authority, sometimes you also have to point out the room for improvement. You also have to find faults, you have to see where there is some trouble. So how do you do that? Oh, kind and liberal-hearted cowherd boys. Sandwich, yeah, you give them the sandwich, which means first you say something nice, you're a real nice guy, I really love you, Plus, by the way, dot. And, I'm really so happy to have you, and it's really great. You're doing great, wonderful service. Then the person can say, like, okay, I didn't like what he said there in the middle, But it seems like, he's a nice guy. He cares about me. And if I'm actually honest, he's right. There is some room for improvement. But a demoniac person, out of principle, just as a matter of principle, they will disagree. Have you ever met people like that? Whatever you say, they will say the opposite. And it's kind of like fun, because you can keep on trying to say things and they will just say the opposite. And usually at one way I just start laughing and walk away. And then a guy like, "Hey, what? You don't want to fight with me? You don't want to argue with me?" And I'm like, "Nope." It's not my job. It's not my job. So we should not get caught up in these types of false dichotomies. Nowadays, the world is very polarized. Have you noticed how the world is polarized? Between left and right, conservatives and liberals, between, the right and the wrong. And even in our own spiritual organization, we can see these tendencies, because we're not exempt from human nature. It is prevalent everywhere. And it's very easy to get caught up in these little turf wars. Because there's seemingly so many good causes. People get a cause and they adopt it and they say, "This is my personal cause." And they make it their jihad. They make it their holy war. And we have a lot of keyboard warriors. Have you heard of keyboard warriors? They're fighting battles. They're raging battles on their keyboards and on their phones. Even though they're fighting against windmills. Just like Rupa Vilas and myself, we came here. And we drove down from Berlin to Leipzig. And then there's some whole clusters of big, huge windmills. And they have red lights. So especially if you drive at night, it looks like you're driving straight into the Matrix, It looks really scary. And if you're Don Quixote, you could think like, "Hey, this is my fight. These are my enemies. I have to take on these people." But in reality, that's really not the case. So oftentimes, if we actually have an open-minded conversation, we realize that for the most part, we want the same thing. Now we may disagree on detail, we may disagree on certain tastes and styles, but in the overall, devotees, they agree. Krishna is God, Prabhupada's the teacher, and we should get our act together and somehow do something to please them. Am I right or am I right? Yes or yes? Please say yes.
Yes.
Hey, if you're sitting in exit row, we need a verbal yes, okay? You can't just smile at the stewardess. Otherwise, they'll put you at the back of the plane next to the toilet, okay? So if you want to enjoy long leg space, you have to actually be an active participant. Yeah? Or as I usually tell, anyhow, so here, Krishna is explaining about divine and demoniac natures, and afterwards, he's telling Arjuna, but don't worry, you're good. Don't worry, you're good. Because sometimes we may see ourselves, some of our traits. Has this ever happened to you? You think like, yeah, he's talking about me here, you know. I want to control, I want to enjoy, I want to do all those things. So that means there is some tendencies, some demoniac tendencies. That's why Prahlad Maharaj tells Lord Nrsingadev, don't tempt me. You know my background, you know my family history. Don't try to entice me with benedictions. Huh? I come from a certain type of environment where this is very much the modus operandi. I simply want to be the humble servant of your servant, Narada Muni. That was the mood of Prahlad Maharaj, that was the mood of Srila Prabhupada. So oftentimes in these holy wars, the point is not about who's right and wrong, the point is about winning an argument. That's more the point. We want to win an argument. Tarko pratishta shrutayo vibhinna nayasya rishir matam nabinnam dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhayam mahajana yena kataksa panta. That a Tarki is somebody who likes to argue. Have you ever met somebody who likes to argue? They do exist. They do exist. And why they want to argue? Because they want to prove their superiority by being smarter, by being able to outwit you, by being able to prove you wrong. Have you ever had people who were writing to you or telling you, admit it that you're wrong? Have you ever had that happen? It's kind of funny, isn't it? It's like, what'd you get out of it? You know, like, what's your benefit? That's why Rupa and Sanatana Goswami, when they were challenged by that Pandit, they just signed and they said, yeah, he defeated us, it's okay. They didn't bother. They didn't want to get caught into this and waste any time. But Jiva Goswami, when he saw that, he said, oh really? Okay, let's hear it. And he defeated the other man. And then people criticized Jiva Goswami and said he was lacking in humility. Why? Because Rupa and Sanatan, they admitted defeat, but he did not. And he challenged the man and he actually won. Now, why would they bring up such an argument? Any idea? Because they're demons. And a demon wants to prove that the devotee is wrong. That's their only joy. That's their only happiness in life. So when you meet people like that, just distance yourself from them. Just separate yourself physically, psychologically, emotionally, and sound vibration wise. Just get space. Stay away from them. Because they're not good. They don't really help you in your bhakti. Now, in former times, the demons and the devotees were on different planets. Then, later on, they happened to be on the same planet. Then they happened to be in the same family. And in Kali Yuga, the demoniac and godly tendencies are present in the same person. Have you ever noticed that some demoniac tendencies were coming out? Yeah? 3 people have noticed. This is a great group. I knew it was worth coming here. So, without introspection, there is no advancement. If you know your weakness, that is your strength. If you don't know you got a weakness, that is your downfall. Krishna consciousness means to introspect, to be thoughtful, manishina, to be able to have some self-examination. And that is what Srila Prabhupada is trying to inspire us to do by giving his purport. and by shedding light from all different types of angles on what is that demoniac mentality. That a person might think that if I just have more wealth and prestige, I'll have more power, I'll have more influence, and thus I'll be more successful in life. Is that a common tendency nowadays? Have you met people like that?
It's called dynamic.
It's called?
Dynamic personality.
Dynamic personality. Yes, you have to be a dynamic personality, right? So that is pretty much the norm. That is pretty much the standard. And thus such person is willing to commit violence on other bodies and on his own. Did you ever meet people who had cuts on their arms? Many, right? Many. It's quite common nowadays. Now, why would you cut yourself? I mean, it's kind of counterproductive, right? It's kind of stupid. But you may be so desensitized that you can't feel nothing, that inflicting pain upon yourself is one of the only ways how you actually feel something. I'm on colleges pretty much every day of the week, and I talk to students, and I ask them oftentimes, how do you feel right now? And you'd be surprised, about 30%, about a third of them will say, I don't feel nothing. And my response to that is, where should I hit you? Huh? Because if you see a guy lying on the side of the road and you ask him, how do you feel right now? And he says, I feel absolutely nothing. Then what do you do? Huh? You call 911 and you say, send a chopper. We got a guy here on the side of the road and he doesn't feel nothing. And they say, don't touch him, don't move him, okay? We'll bring the team. So that is the situation. Because we have been inflicting pain upon others and pain upon ourselves for so long, we have come to a state of illusion where we're so desensitized, we're totally out of touch with ourselves, with our own emotions. That we can rationalize, we can intellectualize, we can fantasize any scenario. But we're not really connected with our own self, nor with the Lord in the heart. Because that is a very frightening thing. Did you ever meet people who said, no, I'm not at all spiritual. I don't believe in this. I don't want to have anything to do with that. Huh? You ever meet people like that? It's just like scary type of idea, right? Because they're so obsessed with power, control, and so-called enjoyment. Not understanding that bhakti is the highest form of intimacy. Now, of course, you can also get on a public train in India, and you will experience some form of intimacy, but it's not the highest form of intimacy. You can also have your significant other, and you can have a family. It's some form of intimacy, but it's not the highest form of intimacy. The highest form of intimacy is to be so much in tune with Krishna's desire and plan, as we discussed this morning, that Krishna is empowering you as his instrument to manifest miracles, to be part of the magic. And that is what we wanted to talk about, because the demons, they're really not that interesting to talk about all night. So I was in Tucson, Arizona, the world's biggest gem fair, and there was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of vendors and hundreds of thousands of buyers. And I was going around booth to booth, showing the books to the people who were selling their crystals and whatever they dug out of the earth. So I went to one man who had 4 different kind of venues, big guy, Russian guy out of San Francisco. And I showed him the books, and he said, I already know this. Did you ever meet people who say, I already know this?
Yes.
Sometimes they say, I know everything. Have you met a guy who said, I know everything? I think that is really funny. Then I say, hey, I got to get my friends. Come over here. You got to meet this guy. He knows everything. So usually they don't know how to speak English because they're saying, I am knowing everything, which means I am not knowing English, but I am knowing everything. So he said, I already know all this. I said, yes, I know you know, but these books are not for you. So that's the mantra for Indians. If you have an Indian and he says, I already know this, you say, this is not for you, because you already know everything. And your grandmother used to recite Bhagavad Gita by heart, right? And he says, yes. But these books are for a good friend. So I told him, these books is for your team, okay? Because you have so many employees and they don't know all this. So you give them to them. And whatever you like to contribute, whatever you like to give, that is fine. We will accept that. So he said, fine, fair enough. He went to the office. He came back and he held out his hands. And he said, what I have in my hands. Now, what do I know? It could have been a crystal, a gemstone, a pearl. It could have been money. It could have been a fruit. It could have been nothing. How do I know? Have you ever been in a situation where you didn't know what to say? Has this ever happened to you? Yeah? So what do you do when you don't know what to do? Any idea?
Do nothing. Pray.
You do nothing? That doesn't really work so well. Huh? Pray to who?
Guru, Krishna.
Yeah, you say, Krishna, if I've ever been a good boy, if I've ever chanted your name, right now would be a good time for a miracle. You know, you can use your bhakti points to get free parking places, or, you know, to get some, you can trade them in for free Mahaprasadam, right? You come with your bhakti card and you say, look, my card is full. I want some of that good stuff. Huh? Or you can say, Krishna, I'm willing, in the mood of Vasudev Datta, I'm willing to give up all my sukriti, all my pious credit for the benefit of this person. And I'm even willing to take a little bit of trouble and hardship just to benefit that fellow. So I looked him straight in the eyes and I said, you got $108 in your hand. And he opened it and it was $108. And he was a little surprised. And I said, the same spirit that's in your heart is also in my heart. And if you actually read these books, then you will know whatever there is to know. And nothing more needed to be said. And I gave him a big hug, and I left. So, Krishna is willing to perform miracles through his devotees, not through the demons. Because the demons, they'll misuse it, they'll abuse it. They'll misunderstand, misconstrue Krishna's intentions. And they will say, just look how great I am, just look how wonderful I am. Now, when Krishna empowers you to do something, then he always watches, okay, is he getting proud? Is he getting a little too cocky? Is he trying to exploit this little bit of siddhi that he has? Now we know from the mystic potencies, like reading the minds of people, it's not so difficult. There are magicians who do that. Doesn't take that much to do. Other types of siddhis, making people do things, moving objects, traveling, not such a big deal. One man left his village and he went to the Himalayas. For 20 years he was gone. After 20 years he came back to the village. Everybody gathered around him. What did you learn? He said, I learned how to walk on water. Everybody's, ooh, wow. So they said, well, let's see it. They went down to the river and for and behold, he walked over the river. And everybody was up in arms. They were all over the moon. Except one old man. One old man said, this is really useless. This is really boring. You spent 20 years learning to walk over water. I spent 20 paisa to take the boat. I spent 20 cents for the boat to cross over the river. And you spent 20 years for that. What a waste of your time. So don't waste your time trying to lose friends and make enemies, which is the title of one of my seminars, in case you want to learn how to lose friends and make enemies. You can come see me later on. We will apply some of these characters and formulas of this chapter of divine and demoniac natures. Just like to give you a little short, brief sneak preview. If you give people advice and you ask people for money is a good way how to lose friends. Have you noticed? You start giving people advice and asking people for money. You'll lose friends real fast. I'll guarantee you. Huh? It works. It's proven, right? It's a time-proven method. So then, don't do it. Okay. In fact, if you want to make friends, ask people for advice. And you know what usually happens? People will help you. If you ask people for advice, they will help you. They may even give you money. They may even give you opportunity. Why? Because they see that your attitude is right. That you're humble. That you're inquisitive. But if you start giving people advice and asking them for money, usually they try to avoid you. Simple formula. So Prabhupada put all these words of wisdom in the Bhagavad Gita, and we are very fortunate that we can avail ourselves of this wealth of information. And by applying it in our own lives, we can actually see through direct experience how it all comes out in the wash. Raja vidya rajagoyam pavitram idam uttamam pratyaksha vagamam dharmyam susukam kartumavyam. What is pratyaksha? Direct perception. Direct experience. That is what people want. Not a theory, not an abstract, not a dogma. They want to know, my dear monk, what is your pratyaksha? What is your experience from your spiritual practice? That's what people are curious to find out. And what should be the result of that pratyaksha? Susukam kartumaviyam. You're actually joyful in your practice. You're actually happy. Because those people who are doing, all that kind of stuff, self-flagellation, that's a different sampradaya. It's a different school. It's not our school. Okay? So, Krishna has a very unique sense of humor. And he's demonstrating this to us time and time again. Now here, he's explaining the different types of natures, and he is showing us that these qualities are very prevalent, even in the same individual. So, if we want to avail ourselves of our higher nature, our higher calling, then we have to be aware of what these tendencies are. And Prabhupada names them, and he makes it very clear what is the mindset so that we can avoid them at all costs. Any questions or comments? I can tell you stories till the cows come home, but I believe the cows are already home at this time of the day, right? We went to Linz today. It was really great outing. It was really fun. So many nice people. It's amazing. So many young people. It's really great. So, yes?
Maybe you could share some, okay. It's maybe not 100% directly connected to the class, but I was wondering if you could share some principles that help you stay connected to your spiritual master while you're traveling, while you're serving, if you're not directly in the association of your spiritual master.
Thank you. Srila Prabhupada often mentioned that his Gurudev left the world many decades ago, yet he feels that his Guru is always right next to him, guiding him and giving him direction and courage and inspiration. So the connection is not through Vapu. Prabhupada met his Guru about a dozen times. And yet he was very intimately connected through Vani, through instruction. So if we meditate on the instruction of the spiritual master and we make it our lives and souls, what is the most important verse in the Vedic literature? There is the most important verse. Nope. Shvetashvatar Upanishad. I'm not going to say more. Yes. Yasadeve parabhaktir yatadeve tatagurau tasyaite katitayarta prakrashanti mahamana. That if we please Guru, then all the imports, all the meanings of the Vedas will become revealed in our heart. Like the zip file, it unzips and everything manifests. That's pretty cool, isn't it? You ever seen a zip file unzip? It's pretty magical, right? All of a sudden, all these little sutras, all these little sayings, all these little words, they just come to life. And the lights go on, and you go like, hey, I get it. I understand now what all this stuff means. Why? Because of the pleasure of the spiritual master. Huh? So, this was the general answer. On a personal context, we have general instructions, we have instructions, we have suggestions, and we have ideas. So there's different levels that are there. So sometimes the Guru will tell you, go do this. And then if we say, well, maybe, perhaps, maybe not, what he really meant was do that. Not do this, but do that. Just like one time I asked my spiritual master, some people say that Radhanath Swami says everybody can get married. But what Radhanath Swami actually means is everybody should stay a brahmachari. And he said, this is the biggest lie that anybody can say. So sometimes in the name of service, we do disservice. We take things out of context. We put words in the mouth of our guru because we have an agenda. We have a certain type of idea that we want to substantiate. You can put that in different areas of life. Everybody has to do what I'm doing because that's normal, right? That's the right thing to do. But that is called doing disservice in the name of doing service. Then sometimes Guru will give you direct instruction and we may not be capable of actually pulling it off. Srila Prabhupada said, when I met my Guru Maharaj for the first time, he told me I should preach in the English-speaking language. Now Prabhupada was 26, just married, had a son, was in pharmaceutical business. It took him 43 years before he could set out to America. 43 years, a lifetime in preparation. Sometimes you may get an impossible instruction. Does that mean we should reject it? Does that mean we should say, he meant something else? No. It means he sees the potential. Right now I may not be capable of doing that, but he sees that if I actually work on it and endeavor and prepare myself, eventually I'll be able to do it. 2015, I was in New York in the Bhakti Center. My guru told me, go and open a center in San Francisco. I asked, why San Francisco? And he says, very important city. We didn't have anything there for 3 decades. And you will learn patience. And I said, patience? Me? You're joking, right? And we both had a good laugh. And then, now it's 2023, 8 years later. And I realized it was not funny. It was real. So, the mission of the spiritual master is very broad. And there is a place for each and every one of us. Now, Sankirtan, Samyak Kirtan means the complete chanting of the holy name. It means we realize our interdependence. We realize that we're all in the same boat. That if we don't put our pitchforks together, unsere Heugabeln, if we don't start rowing together in unison, we're not going anywhere. We're just going in circles, chasing our own tail. Have you ever seen a dog running in circles, chasing its own tail? Kind of funny, right? Have you ever seen a dog actually catch its own tail? Have you? They'd probably be pretty freaking scared if they bite their own tail. They're like, Have you ever seen dogs chase cars? Have you ever seen a dog actually catch a car and stop it? No, never, right? This has not worked, does not work, and will not work. Yet, somehow, the dog won't give up chasing cars. Now we think this is very funny. till we actually contemplate for a little bit and realize this is not funny at all. I am that dog. I am chasing cars. I am running in circles, chasing my own tail. I have this fixation that I can actually control and enjoy matter. And thus we're trying to dance with that girl who's riding a tiger and is holding 10 weapons. And you know who I'm talking about. And that is a very, very dangerous proposition. Because you do not come out alive of that one. Yet we're dog stubborn, we're persistent, so we want to pull it off. But when we tell Guru and Krishna, okay, I got kicked around, I've seen and done and experienced a few things. Let me offer the only thing that is in my possession, my little bit of free will. Let me offer that to Guru and Krishna in service. They will appreciate that. And they will give you empowerment. Krishna Shakti Vinanahe Tara Pravartan. Srila Prabhupada was not a major player in the Gaudiya Math. Prabhupada was a grihasta. He had family and business. He was not a sannyasi. He was not a vairagi. Most people didn't know him. Yet, because of his unflinching faith, Shraddha Shabde Vishwas Kohe Sudrida Nishchoy, Sarva Karma Kaila Krita Hoy. Because Prabhupada had full faith in the instructions of his spiritual master, his Gurudev empowered him to do the impossible. So, if we are willing to take that leap of faith, each and every one of us can become empowered to do the impossible. That is the process of Krishna consciousness. And it's not that, oh yeah, your guru can do that and this guru cannot because this one has 10,000 disciples and this one only has 3 disciples. If we look at our Gaudiya history, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, everybody was a guru of sorts. They were Shiksha gurus, Diksha gurus, Varma Pradarshika gurus. Prabhupada says in the same Chaitanya Charitamrita, if we don't respect and regard all of these 3 categories as equal, then what happens then? Then the mission cannot expand. So, empowerment is there, yet somehow we seem to be missing out on some fundamental points, some fundamental issues. Because we think it's a material concept, we think it's a material formula, but it's not. Krishna is the doer, he can empower anybody. Anybody. And that includes us. That's the good news. But it may take a little time in preparation, because as we're growing in Krishna consciousness, we can also see that we may have some homework to do. We've acquired a couple of tendencies that we find here in this 16th chapter that we have to deal with. And through the process of Harinam Sankirtan, these things are becoming remedied. They're becoming transformed. Srila Prabhupada writes that progress in bhakti depends on the attitude of the practitioner. In Sambandha Abhideya Prayojana, there is a 4th one, it's called Adhikar, which is our attitude or our qualification. And that defines how rapidly we progress on the path. It's not how much we know, it's not how big our scores are, it's not at how flamboyant or how eloquent we are. It's about the sincerity of our purpose. And that is what we see in Srila Prabhupada and in Srila Prabhupada's teachings. I don't know if this answers your question. It's just what came to my mind. Yeah, okay.
Thank you for the wonderful lecture, Prabhu. My question is if the demoniac tendencies in ourselves will be completely gone, or will they be partly there forever?
Not forever. Nothing's forever except Krishna. No, they will be cleansed. They will be cleansed. But depending on our holding on to them, we may be very attached. And thus, it will take a lot of time and a lot of pain for us to overcome them. This tendency to control and enjoy is very strong in the conditioned soul. Just like Dhruva. You remember Dhruva? Tried to climb on the lap of his dad. And what did his stepmom tell him? You have to die and be born from my womb. Because otherwise you can't do this. Just like somebody who says, you can't be here, or you can't be a preacher here, you can't be a leader here, because you're not my disciple. First you have to die, take birth again, and become my disciple. Then you can do something here in this zone. Because this is my zone. Basically, zonal acharya syndrome. This is what she said. This is what she said. There's nothing new under the sun. We can just read the Bhagavatam. We got it all there. And then what happened? She had to die. Her son had to die. So we should study the books that we distribute so we can recognize where there is danger and we can safeguard against it. Otherwise, we'll fall into the same traps, make the same mistakes, and we can paint it with every toothbrush we want, but it will still be very difficult to give up those tendencies. So we got our conditional nature and our constitutional nature. You understand? And if they're going parallel and we're using our conditional nature to engage in our constitutional nature, then there's usually not too much difficulty and conflict. But if they're not going parallel and we're not using all our faculties in Krishna service, then our conditional nature may really start taking us off track. And we'll go into things that are quite counterproductive. And it can happen to anybody. Even up to the platform of Bhava. In case you're into technicalities. Bharad Maharaj, he was on the platform of Bhava. And he saw a little deer. And his Kshatriya Bhav thought, hey, I need to protect that deer. Why? Because I'm the man. Because I'm the king. Because I can do this. And thus he started taking care of the deer. And he forgot all about his spiritual practice. Now you take out deer and you replace it with whatever it is that we're obsessed by. If you see yourself just, talking to young girls or just watching all the nice cars or doing window shopping or doing, online shopping or just fantasizing at any time of the day or night, we should realize that maybe something went off track. And that's why we need Sangha. Because in any discipline, unless you have a peer group, you're not going to be great. You can be good, but you can't be great. Now, who is your peer group? Your peer group is anyone who can challenge you. Anyone who can challenge you, that's your peer group. Now, you may not like that to be challenged, but that's a requirement if you want to refine yourself. Of course, you can also get married, then your spouse will also challenge you every day, right? Every day of the week. But that's good because it will refine you and it will make you a better person. That's the whole point of Grihastha Ashrama. So Krishna consciousness is a progressive path and it's a refinement process, and that's why we're here. Otherwise, Prabhupada could have just done like others did. He could have sold mantras, he could have sold t-shirts, he could have sold diksha. Yeah, he could have done all that stuff. It's not so difficult, right? It's a good business. No, but that wasn't Prabhupada's business. His business was in transforming people's hearts and empowering them to be part of the solution. Otherwise, naturally, you'll be part of the problem. So people are looking for substance. They're looking for sat sangha. That means truthful association. But if we're not truthful, how can we provide that satsang to anybody? So we're very fortunate, we're very blessed that Srila Prabhupada has given us this ISKCON institution where we have the privilege to avail ourselves of satsang. Not, oh, you're okay, I'm okay. By the way, you know, you want to buy some of this or you want to buy some of that? Let's trade, you know, what you got. No. But truthful association, that we're here to speak about Sat, about the truth. Satam prasanga mamavira samvido bhavanti ritkarana rasayana kata chachoshana dasha pavargavartmani shraddha ratir bhaktir anukramishhrati. Just like when you eat food, what happens? There is taste, there is satisfaction, there is absence of hunger. In a similar way, when you associate with devotees, shraddha, rati, and bhakti, faith, attraction, affinity, and bhakti, devotion, become natural steps, natural results. And thus we see anybody who comes into the Sangha and who practices the process sincerely, they will experience transformation. But back to your question, yes, there will still be certain traces, certain last vestiges that are there. Because, like, even though you may have cleaned something and you smell it, there's still a little bit of a fragrance left. Have you noticed? Sometimes you clean a pot or something, but there's still a little bit of fragrance there left. Then how do you deal with that? Vasanas are impressions on the mind. So when we practice Krishna consciousness, we overwrite the code. So we replace what was there before by Krishna conscious information, by positive information. And thus, even those last vestiges will become eradicated. Now, of course, Krishna will never take away our free will. We can say, no, this is no-go zone. This is my little memory box, and no one messes with that. Then, it's going to take a long time and it's going to hurt a little, because Krishna will start playing games. It will start giving you things and then taking everything away and then moving things around and then putting your world upside down and then shaking the monkey, rattling the monkey cage, until you're like, whoa, I don't like this roller coaster. I don't love this game anymore. Krishna! In Sweden, there was one devotee. He said, I don't like this, you know. There's two things he really couldn't stand. Getting up at 4 in the morning, it's just terrible. I mean, who in his right mind would do that, right? That's when people come home, right? So, and the second thing, no toilet paper. He said, this is just not acceptable. Because, you know, in Vedic culture, people use water. So, he said, I can't stand this. And he left and he went out. And what do? You got to get a job because you need a place to stay. So you need money, so he went to work. So he went to work, and then one fine day, he was working in a warehouse, driving a forklift. You know what a forklift is? Gabelstapler. So he was driving a forklift in a warehouse. And then one week, they put him on a night shift. So one morning, at 1 a.m., he had an epiphany, a religious experience. He almost fell off the forklift. He realized, it is 1 a.m. I did not want to get up at 4 a.m. It is 1 a.m. I already worked for 4 hours, and I'm going to be working all night. And then, he was in a big warehouse. This is Sweden, Scandinavia, so the whole warehouse was full of toilet paper. And he realized Krishna is saying, you want toilet paper? I'll give you toilet paper. How much do you want? A warehouse? Is that enough toilet paper? So he got down, walked off that forklift, walked out of the warehouse, never came back, went to the temple, said, okay, I get it. I'll be a good boy. No toilet paper. I'll get up in the morning. So don't hold on to your last vestiges. Otherwise, Krishna will start playing games. He'll start playing tricks with you. And you may not like it. Like Prabhupada was commenting sometimes that he had family, he had business, and he thought, if I make a lot of money, I can preach and spread Krishna consciousness everywhere because I'll be a respectable industrialist. But he said, but Krishna took everything away. Krishna had a different plan. And the devotees started laughing. Prabhupada said, don't laugh. If it happens to you, you will be very morose. So don't tempt Krishna, because he knows how to play games. Other questions? Yes, Akila Prabhu.
In your class, you were already very near to this saying, the attitude defines the altitude. When you were, you gave a Sankirtan seminar and talked about it, but I forgot everything.
Yes, your attitude is your altitude. Depending on your attitude, that defines on which level you fly. Just like we have 3 different types of devotees. We have the Kanishta, the beginner, the Madhyam, the intermediate, and the Uttam, the most advanced. They're all chanting Hare Krishna, they're all practicing Krishna consciousness. But their attitude is different. A beginner usually likes to argue, likes to disagree, and likes to fight. That's what neophytes do. The intermediate, they like to collaborate and spread and expand the mission. And the most advanced, the Uttams, they like to share their hearts and to relish Krishna consciousness. So depending on our attitude and our taste, we'll fit into one of those categories. So that defines our altitude. So what my attitude is defines my altitude, how high I can go. Now, of course, Krishna can change our capacity. There is such a thing as kripa, that we can get the honorary degree, but don't count on it. Don't count on it. There's first class, second class, third class, 10th class, and then there's Dandavat class. First class student he understands the desire of the spiritual master, and he goes and carries it out without being told. Second class is the guru tells, and the disciple goes and does it. Third class is the guru tells, and the disciple doesn't do it. 10th class is the guru gives an instruction, and the disciple argues and tries to prove him wrong, how what he wants is really wrong, and therefore, ... And then there is Dandavat class. What is Dandavat class? You do everything wrong, but you always pay your Dandavats. Which means you're always humble. You always understand, okay, I'm wrought with many mistakes, with many faults, and I'm full of bad qualities, yet somehow by the mercy of the Vaishnavas, I'm here. And that is very pleasing. Why? Because the attitude is right. And if the attitude is right, something can grow. Now, if you were to go to work in most fields, skill can be trained very easily, but attitude takes decades to develop. So why are we here? We're here to develop the right kind of attitude. Other questions or comments? Do you want to see the magic? Are you here for the magic? Or you're already fine, you already figured it all out, right? Huh? Yeah, sometimes we think, I'm saved, I'm one of the saved. Huh? I got my guru, I got my mantra, I got it figured out. Have you ever thought like that?
Not too long.
Not too long.
Krishna made sure that you remember.
Yeah. You ever heard of Tapana Mishra? It says that Tapana Mishra, he was an educated Brahmin, but he didn't know the goal of life, nor how to attain it. Now, how can you be educated and not know the goal of life or how to attain it? It's kind of a conundrum, right? Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur in his purport in Chaitanya Bhagavad says that because he was worshipping his Ishtadev, He was chanting his mantra silently. He was not collaborating with others to expand the Sankirtan movement. That's why he did not know the goal of life nor how to attain it. Meaning he was following ritual, but he was following the letter of the law, but he was not following the spirit of the law. How often have we done that? We tick all the boxes. We subscribe or unsubscribe to whatever has to be done, but we're not really mindful of, why am I doing what am I doing? People don't care how much you know till they know that you actually care. Empathy is not a t-shirt or a tattoo or a secret handshake. It's not something you can fake. People actually sense it. Do you know that dogs can feel your heartbeat? Yeah. Why do mosquitoes always get you on your joints? Any idea why? Yeah, but how do they know? I mean, how much brain substance is in a mosquito? How much? What do you think? How big is the brain of a mosquito? Huh? I mean, I feel right at home here. It's like Mayapur, you know, mosquitoes all over the place, especially in my room. Huh? Now, how can these guys find out exactly where it hurts the most or where they get their juice? Because Krishna is in their heart. Because the super soul is there and he's guiding them. Now you can call it whatever you want to call it, but it is the Lord in the heart who is guiding every living entity. So how to be guided by Krishna, how to be an instrument of Krishna's compassion? By Machita Makata Prana Pudayantas Parasparam, Tushanti Charamanticha, by hearing and chanting in the association of devotees and developing this mood of compassion. It's not about ritual, it's not about knowledge, it's not about austerity, it's not about mystic power. What attracts Krishna's intervention? Yes, that's part. Yes, also. What else? What attracts Krishna's attention? The magic sauce, that magic formula with which you can eat even an old shoe. What is it?
Enthusiasm.
Yes, it starts out with a pinch of inspiration, and then there's a lot of perspiration. You have to actually work hard for Krishna. And then there is a molecule of desperation. You got to be desperate. You have to really want it. Like really want it. Like you're ready to give your life for it. I was in Bali, Indonesia, near the beach, and I met a young couple from the UK. And they took books, and we had a little chat. And they were kind of scruffy, because, you know, Bali is more a posh family destination. You've been there, right? You know what I'm talking about, Ubud and, you know, etc. So I asked them, what are you doing here? Because they had a lot of metal in their faces and a lot of tattoos, and they kind of looked more like left-wing militants. So they said, you really want to know? We're going down to Australia and then Antarctica. We're going to fight against the whales fishers who want to kill the whale down there in the South Sea. And have you heard of Sea Shepherd? A bunch of activists, they get in little rubber boats and they go between the whales and these big Japanese whaling boats or wherever they're coming from. There are other nations who do the same thing. So I thought, wow, these kids are willing to die for a bunch of fish in the South Sea. It's pretty cold down there. It's pretty dangerous to go between a whale and a hunting boat with big guns. Now they're willing to die for a bunch of fish. What am I willing to die for? If you got nothing you're willing to die for, you got nothing to live for. What is your motivation? Why'd you get out of bed? If you get out of bed, breakfast, lunch, dinner? Or what is it? What is it that gets us moving? Prabhupada got up every night at midnight and translated 6 pages because he felt our suffering, our ignorance, and he wanted to alleviate it. There's so many good causes in this world. Saving the fish, saving the mosquitoes, saving the kids, saving the old people, saving the women, saving nature, saving whoever. But there is one great cause that includes all those good causes. What is that? Kaler dhoshani de rajanasti he kamahad gunat kirtana deva krishnasya mukta sangha parambrajet. There is one great cause that will include all those good causes. But if you're trying to do good for the world, have you ever tried to do good for the world? What happened?
You can't get it done.
Undank ist der Welten Lohn. Huh? People turned against you and tried to burn you. Has this ever happened to you? If not, you probably haven't tried hard enough to do something for others. Huh? Why? Because it's not possible. It's not possible. But if we realize that if I align myself with Krishna's plan, then all these good causes will automatically be included in the great cause. And that's why sometimes we have to desist and not get sidetracked into these little cyber battles and into these little differences of opinions and these little differences of taste or of, preferences. Because Prabhupada said, I came to teach you principles and you figure out the details. And that's why Krishna consciousness works everywhere. Because Prabhupada taught us principles. And he allowed people to adjust the details. And that's why he told that temple president that you have to be very strict and you have to be very liberal. Remember how I started the class? And that might seem like a real contradiction. That might seem like a conundrum. How is this possible? How can you reconcile these two? Achintya ye bhava tangstarkena nayoja, that all seeming contradictions become reconciled in the inconceivable nature of Krishna. Because Krishna is all good. He's Shuddhama Papavidam. So all the contradictions and all the seemingly conflicting ideas become perfectly harmoniously balanced in Krishna's nature. Just like we can see here. We're all different. Ordinarily, we would never have met. Did you notice that? Because we're from different parts of the galaxy. But somehow Krishna put us all together, and that's a miracle. That's a miracle. When Prabhupada was asked, Swamiji, can you do miracles? Prabhupada said, yes. He said, Swamiji, can you show miracles? Prabhupada said, yes. What is your miracle, Swamiji? And Prabhupada showed, and he said, this is my miracle. I've taken these people, and I've turned them around from demoniac nature to devotional nature, and have empowered them to become touchstones so that they can go out and do the same to other people. That is my magic. That is the magic of Krishna consciousness. That is the magic of Prabhupada. That is unparalleled. That is the gift that Prabhupada came to give. Thank you for your kind attention and participation. And it's been a fun stay here in this very historic place. A lot of very beautiful, very life-changing experiences that we were allowed to witness here in Singhachalam. I thank you all for keeping this oasis alive and vibrant, and for giving such a wonderful example of building community and having tremendous hospitality and patience with people like me who come here as intruders, like a thief in the night. Just come here to steal a little bit of your great achievements. So thank you all, and I'm convinced Krishna will empower you more and more to spread Krishna consciousness. And that is the magic, that is the beauty of Krishna consciousness. Thank you very much. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki.